So the World Cup is over, England didn't win it, but West Ham find themselves 4th in the Premier League table. I think we all know what that means. So the World Cup break ended up being quite eventful. First off, Mikel Antonio requested to leave the club. We drew the mighty Preston North End in the FA Cup third round. And Declan Rice's World Cup was cut short due to a hamstring injury. There was some good news, however, as Gianluca Scamacca and Dion Bellio picked up Player and Young Player of the Month for November. And as an early Christmas present, David Gold informed me we had an extra £40 million to spend in January. Thank you very much, David. There was another possible departure with Lucas Fabianski informing me that he wanted to go with his contract up the end of the season and the fact he's not really playing much this season. So I accepted a bid from CSK Moscow and he will join them towards the end of January, which prompted me to set up a recruitment focus to go and find a new backup goalkeeper. Our youth intake seemed promising, but we've all played FM before, so I'm taking this with a massive pinch of salt. We finally returned to league action then at home to London rivals Arsenal, who are also battling us for the top 4. And it was a perfect start for us, with Jared Bowen curling a lovely shot into the bottom corner to give us the 1-0 lead. An absolute cock-up between Kieran Tierney and Aaron Ramsdale then presented Gianluca Scamacca with the easy job of making it 2-0. We obviously felt bad and decided to give Arsenal a route back into the game by making the exact same mistake. But we responded well to that setback with Pablo Fornals curling a lovely shot into the top corner to give us all 3 points.
Is massive, everywhere we go.
Our recruitment focus worked a treat with young Brazilian goalkeeper Bento coming to my attention, and after hashing out terms with his agent and agreeing a £6.5 million fee with his club, we were able to bring him in as our new number 2 to Alphonse Areola. Another London derby up next, this time away at Fulham, and Gianluca Scamacca picked up right where he left off before the World Cup break. The big Italian netted his third hat-trick of the season, and I can confidently say that he is without question the best striker on FM23. Lucas Paqueta finally broke his duck and got his first goal for the club, and despite Said Benrahma rounding off a very impressive 5-1 victory, we started the new year with a defeat to Brighton and a really disappointing 1-1 draw against Forest. Mikel Antonio finally got his wish to depart the club. He went off on loan to Brighton, who have a mandatory future fee in place to buy him at the end of the loan spell. There was one more departure, and this one broke my heart. Craig Dawson told me he didn't want to sign a new contract, and with that in mind, I thought it would be best to cash in and send him off to Burnley. Thank you for everything, Craig. You really are a cult hero here at West Ham. Now, weirdly, Craig Dawson had one more request before he left, and that was to ask you to subscribe if you haven't already. So don't do it for me. Do it for Craig. Also, leave a like on this video if you're enjoying the series so far. It really does help the channel out, and I would greatly appreciate it as well. An unfortunate knee injury to Jared Bowen meant we were quite light in the right wing position, and bear in mind the board gave us some extra money to spend this month, I thought we should go out and get ourselves a new right winger. And the man I chose was Sporting Lisbon winger Marcus Edwards, a man I'm sure most of you are familiar with. We managed to agree a deal of around £29 million, and after some rather routine contract negotiations, we finally had our man. At just 24 years of age, I think this is someone who's going to become a real key member of our squad for many seasons to come. We welcome Manchester United to London Stadium next, looking to exact revenge for what they did to us at Old Trafford earlier in the season. And it was Thomas Souček who gave us the lead, and it was the Czech midfielder who dispossessed Harry Maguire to tee up Gianluca Scamacca to round off a 2-0 victory. It was a bad day at the office for Manchester United, particularly Cristiano Ronaldo, who played so badly he ran off to do another interview with Piers Morgan. Following the departure of Craig Dawson, we needed another centre-back, and I turned to Josip Stualo from Dinamo Zagreb. It was a big outlay at £30 million, but looking at his attributes and his age, I think he is absolutely worth it. And it provides extra depth in that position, along with the likes of Kurt Zouma,
Nissen Egaard,
and Thilo Kehrer. One problem we don't have though is strikers, as Gianluca Scamacca continues to score goals for fun with this lovely chip in a 1-0 win against Leeds. A huge win for us, with Leeds only being 3 points behind us going into that one, and we now sit second, 4 points above Man City and 12 behind Liverpool. Now, as well as having a brilliant league season, we were quietly going about our business in the League Cup, getting wins against Aston Villa, Queen's Park Rangers and Arsenal to set up a semi-final tie against Brentford. The first leg of the semi-final started well for us, with this challenge from Ethan Pinnock somehow being deemed to be a penalty. Unfortunately for Pinnock, he also picked up his second yellow card as a result and was sent off. So who else to step up in the semi-final for us? It had to be Gianluca Scamacca, who dispatched perfectly to make it 1-0. Former Brentford man Said Benrahma then teed up Scamacca to get his second and secure us a 2-0 win in the first leg. Brentford came out swinging for the second leg, with Ivan Toney racing through and giving them a route back into the tie. But the Bees were unable to complete their comeback, with Scamacca scoring a brilliant free kick to secure us a 3-1 victory overall and set up a rather mouth-watering final against Liverpool. So what better way to prepare for that final by facing Liverpool in the league? Now, by this point they were first in the table and ahead of us by about 12 points, but we were playing at home and I was feeling rather confident. That confidence quickly went away though, as a comedy of errors gifted Liverpool the opening goal, and from there they never looked like quitting, as Mohamed Salah raced into the area to set up Naby Keita to make it 2-0. Luis Diaz then rounded off a good afternoon for the visitors with a wonderful finish past Areola. We did manage to pull one back though through Jared Bowen, although that joy was short-lived as he picked up a hamstring injury almost immediately afterwards, meaning he will miss the League Cup final against Liverpool. Thank Christ we signed Marcus Edwards when we did. So that defeat leaves us in second place, 15 points behind Liverpool, who are still unbeaten after 23 games. We bounced back well with an impressive 2-0 win away at Leicester, with Lucas Paqueta adding to his goal tally for the season. Marcus Edwards then scored his first goal for the club with his wonderful curled effort into the bottom corner. We finally got a Premier League victory over Brighton before we welcomed arch-rivals Tottenham to the London Stadium, and what a game this was. We opened the scoring with Lucas Paqueta carrying on his good run of goal-scoring form before Gianluca Scamacca scored this lovely effort past Hugo Lloris to make it 2-0. What happened next can only be described as a freak 10 minutes of play. From 2-0 up to 3-2 down, the ball just kept finding its way to the feet of Harry Kane, who managed to bag himself a hat-trick to give Spurs an unlikely lead. It was some absolutely woeful defending from us, and it took every bit of strength of me not to put my head through my monitor. And it was a good thing I didn't, otherwise I would have missed this wonderful goal from Thomas Souček to level the game up at 3-0, and that is how it finished. As disappointing as it was to throw away a 2-0 lead, we thankfully bounced back with a 2-0 win away at Southampton using a very rotated team. And the reason we had to rotate because we had the League Cup final against Liverpool just a few days later. A domestic cup final against Liverpool. I've been here before. And just like in 2006, it was West Ham who got off to a perfect start, Marcus Edwards volleying home after a brilliant knockdown from Kurt Zouma. Not long after, some more good work down our right-hand side produced a brilliant cross from Vladimir Coufal to pick out Saïd Benrahma to make it 2-0. Liverpool were obviously shell-shocked and were desperate for a way back into the game, and nearly got it as Mo Salah ran through but saw his effort come back off the crossbar. And Liverpool kept plugging away with Mo Salah continuing to be their danger man. And after some good work down the right-hand side, he picked out Thiago, but he was denied by one of the best saves I've ever seen in Football Manager by Alphonse Areola. Thanks to Areola's heroics, we were able to hold on and claim our first trophy of the save with a 2-0 win over Liverpool in the League Cup final. This is also the first time West Ham have ever won this trophy, so to do so in our first season in charge is a absolutely fantastic achievement. And hopefully this is just the first of many trophies that Declan Rice will lift as West Ham captain throughout this adventure. Unfortunately, our FA Cup run wasn't as successful. Despite beating Preston and Bristol City in the 3rd and 4th round, we got drawn away at Old Trafford in the 5th round. And despite a decent performance and a 2-2 draw, we ended up getting knocked out on penalties. So back to league action, and there's no prizes for guessing who opened the scoring against Fulham. But the real story here is the resurgence of Lucas Paqueta. The Brazilian sealed the win with the second goal of the game here against Fulham, and he is having a much better second half of the season. And the team as a whole are still doing brilliantly as we sit second in the table with 10 games to go, though I think it's safe to say Liverpool probably wrapped up the title. However, we were able to extend our lead over Arsenal to 6 points, with Gianluca Scamacca scoring the only goal of this game at the Emirates. Unfortunately, what followed was a rather difficult April, despite kicking the month off with a win against Bournemouth, draws against Everton, Wolves and Brentford, and a defeat away at Aston Villa saw us slide to 4th in the table. Now, I think I can explain our dip in form. Don't forget, we are still in the Europa Conference League. That's right, and following finishing top of our group, we went straight into the round of 16 and we were drawn against FC Cologne. And if we get past them, we will face either Fiorentina or Slavia Prague in the semi-finals. Now, going into the tie against FC Cologne, we had quite a few injuries to deal with, so I made the decision to have a change in formation. This basically came down to the fact that we essentially had no fit wingers available to us. But what we do have are two fantastic strikers in Gianluca Scamacca and Dion Bellew, and they linked up to give us the lead after just 20 minutes. We doubled our lead not long after, with Josip Stualo poking home to get his first goal for the club, and then from another corner, Kurt Zouma rose higher above everyone to make it 3-0 to the Hammers. On to the second leg, and some lovely close control and a brilliant finish from Scamacca saw us extend our lead in Germany. The Italian got his second heading home from a corner before fullback Ben Johnson broke into the area to seal a 3-1 second leg win and a 6-1 win on aggregate. There was some bad news from the tie though, as Marcus Edwards suffered a groin strain and he may well miss the rest of the season. So on to the semi-final then, and we travelled to Italy to take on Fiorentina in the first leg. And it was a welcome return to Italy for Gianluca Scamacca, with the Italian giving us a 1-0 lead. Our top goal scorer for the season pounced again after some brilliant work from Declan Rice. Scamacca poked home to make it 2-0 and give us a comfortable lead going back to the second leg. And it took us just 3 minutes to strike first at the London Stadium, with Maxwell Cornet played in by Thomas Souček to make it 3-0 on aggregate. Now, due to the race for the top 4 heating up in the league, I thought it would be a good idea to make some changes for this game given our strong start in the first leg. So you can imagine how quickly I was regretting that decision as Fiorentina decided to mount a comeback. They got the aggregate scoreline back to 3-2 before Jonathan Icone sent Emerson for a hot dog and levelled the aggregate score to 3-3. Thankfully, we had the strength in depth required to get ourselves out of this mess. And two of the substitutes, Scamacca and Benrahma, linked up, with Benrahma racing through, sliding it past the goalkeeper to give us a 4-3 win on aggregate and send us to the Europa Conference League final. And we'll deal with that final later on. However, I mentioned previously that the race for the top 4 was still well and truly on. And we hosted Chelsea in a game that was absolutely huge to our top 4 chances. And we came out victorious thanks to goals from Saïd Benrahma and Lucas Paqueta. And with 3 games to go, this is how the table looks going into a vital game against Manchester City, who are in 3rd. A win here would secure our place in the Champions League for next season. However, Stualo had other ideas, gifting a goal to Erling Haaland. We fought back well though, with Scamacca forcing an excellent save for Ederson, and thankfully for us, Bowen reacted quicker than the Brazilian to draw us level. Unfortunately though, luck was not on our side, as a deflected Kevin De Bruyne free kick and an Erling Haaland header from a corner was enough to give City a 3-1 win and all 3 points on the day, which meant we slipped back to 4th in the table. However, there was some good news the following week. City followed up their win against us by getting thumped 6-0 by Manchester United, and Arsenal lost away at Liverpool, meaning a win in our next game would secure us Champions League football for next season. However, things got off to a terrible start, with Lucas Paqueta handing the ball from a Newcastle corner, giving away a penalty. Thankfully for us though, Areola was the hero once again, denying Berardi from the spot. And we punished him just a few moments later, Saïd Benrahma setting up that man once again, Gianluca Scamacca, to give us a 1-0 lead. Saïd Benrahma was on one today, and after a brilliant run down the left-hand side, he cut it back for captain Declan Rice to fire it past Nick Pope to make it 2-0. Newcastle did get one back though through Alexander Isak, and I was starting to sweat a little bit. But today would be our day. A wonderfully taken goal from Jarrod Bowen secured a 3-1 win, all 3 points, and more importantly, a place in next season's Champions League. I won't lie to you viewers, this is something I absolutely did not expect to happen in the first season, and I am so proud of this team for making it happen. The board have agreed to give us about £60 million going into next season, which will be very helpful indeed. Unfortunately, we ended the season with their defeat. Despite taking a 2-0 lead at Selhurst Park against Crystal Palace, they were fighting for their lives, and after a mistake from Ben Johnson allowed Zaha to make it 2-1, they went on in the second half to claim a 3-2 victory. Thank God Champions League qualification was confirmed for this game, because I don't know how I would have handled it had we thrown it away in this fashion. So with that then, we finish our first season in charge of West Ham 3rd in the Premier League table. 23 wins, 5 draws, 10 defeats, and 74 points after 38 games. Gianluca Scamacca finishes 2nd in the Golden Boot race behind Erling Haaland, who got a ridiculous 47 goals this season. Scamacca also came 3rd in the average rating list with a 7.48, and Saïd Benrahma came in joint 2nd for the most amount of assists with 13, tied with Felipe Coutinho. So all in all, a fantastic season for West Ham United. But of course, I haven't forgotten, there is the small matter of the Europa Conference League final still to play. It's us versus Nice. How will we get on? Will we claim our first ever European trophy? Well, to find out, you'll have to tune in to the next episode. Yeah, that's right, we're doing cliffhangers now on the channel. Strap yourselves in. So if you don't want to miss what happens in the Conference League final, make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any more uploads from me. And if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like as well. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you for the Europa Conference League final against Nice. And until then, only one thing left to say. Come on, you Irons.